I've been in California now for about a month on vacation, and I still got a few weeks left to go. I've also spent several months here in the past on other vacations, and so now that I've spent a lot of time here in California, I've gotten a pretty good feeling of what it would actually be like to live here, even though I live in Florida. And before you say, vacation's not like living there, I understand, I get it. But just hear me out because I don't have a regular 9 to 5 job. YouTube is my job now. And even though I'm here on vacation, I am still working. I'm actually working more than I would work at home. So my work life pleasure balance is very similar to what it would be like back home in Miami. And so I feel like I've gotten a pretty good sense of what it would be like to live here, even though I'm not actually living here, I'm just visiting. And because of that, I wanted to point out some of the differences that I've noticed here since I've been here recently, mainly pertaining to the people here and the lifestyle, as well as some of the laws and policies that are currently in place that affect your everyday life. So let's get into it. The first thing is the people. So the people here in California, depending on where you are, can be very different. And I know that could be the case pretty much anywhere. But since we're comparing Florida to California, I want to draw some similarities here. So Florida and California seem to both have the big city problem, which I call the big city problem because anytime you go to a big city, that's usually where people are the most rude and offensive and just really don't care about you. They'll run you over in their car if you're in their way. And I definitely get that feeling here in the San Francisco area, not as much in LA, believe it or not, which I'll get to in just a second. But definitely comparing Miami, where I live, to here in San Francisco, it definitely has that more faster pace of life and just get out of my way attitude, and I really don't dig that. So I'm glad I'm not staying in San Francisco. You can see it's behind me, and I'm staying across the bay, and things are much more relaxed over here, which I definitely like, and that's definitely my next point. The further you go away from the cities in both Florida and in California, the nicer the people get in general. So I would definitely say both of these places have that in common. And also, pertaining to the cities, one thing I have to mention about the people, especially in LA, at least my experience has been, guys, that everybody that I've met in LA has been super friendly. I've gone to several restaurants and bars and just the beach and just random places. It just seems like people talk to you more and you just make friends very easily. And I definitely don't experience that back home in Miami, and they're both big cities. So that's kind of like one big difference I noticed right off the bat after being here for a little while. In Miami, everybody's just kind of minding their own business. If you're walking down the street saying hello to everybody, they're just like thinking you're some kind of crazy person. But here it seems to be very normal, at least in LA, and I do like that. By the way, if you notice that this video looks better than any other video you've seen on my channel, the reason is because I'm shooting it on my new iPhone 13 Pro Max, and if you have any level of interest in iPhones, then go ahead and check out my second YouTube channel. I'll have it linked below, and you can also just type it in on YouTube. It's called Only iPhones, and I really enjoy using iPhones. I use them to shoot all of my YouTube videos, so if that's something that you're interested in, go ahead and check out that channel. I have it linked below. Now let's get into some of like the rules and the policies here in California that are quite a bit different than in Florida, and they definitely affect your everyday quality of life. The first thing is, and the most noticeable thing is the whole mask and vaccine debate. So here in California, you pretty much have to wear a mask almost everywhere you go, indoors anyhow. And in Florida, that's not the case anymore. In fact, it hasn't been the case for quite some time, several months, and that's just not a thing anymore. We've kind of gotten past that in Florida, and it was a little weird coming here and kind of like going back in time when it pertains to wearing the mask in places. It just feels weird now, and I feel like everybody here is like 6 months to a year behind. I don't know why they're still doing that. It doesn't seem to be helping. They still had their cases rise just like we had in Florida, but whatever, it is what it is. They're doing that. I don't like it, so I try to avoid going to restaurants and stores as much as possible that I've been here. Believe it or not, even though I'm on vacation, I'm here to enjoy the cooler weather, the fresh air, and the great outdoors, so I could care less about going to all the restaurants and clubs and whatever. That's the first thing that I notice. And even in San Francisco across the bay, which you can see right behind me, I'm so glad I'm not staying there, guys. Like, it's getting to be insane. Like, there's homeless people everywhere. It's not against the law to be naked in San Francisco on the street, but yet you have to wear the mask everywhere, and some restaurants even require you to have a vaccine card to get in. So to me, that's just insanity and ludicrous, and whoever's making those rules up needs to start rethinking things, if you ask me. Now, a couple other things I noticed about the laws and policies here moving away from the COVID situation is that California has a much higher minimum wage. I think it's like $14 an hour here, whereas in Florida, it's only $8.65 still. So they're way ahead of Florida here. However, the cost of living here is a lot higher, which we'll get to a little bit later in the video. So obviously they need every penny they can get. But there are some good job opportunities here. Even In-N-Out Burger, I was just there last night. They start at like 19 bucks an hour, guys. There's a lot of jobs in Florida that don't start anywhere near that number. So flipping burgers for 19 bucks an hour, that's not a bad deal. If you need a job, go In-N-Out Burger. Now, getting into my specialty, which is real estate, a lot of you guys know me from my real estate videos that I've done, and this is a big one here in California. So California has rent control laws, and in Florida, we don't have any of that. So some people might argue, well, that's really good and they need that here because the rents are so expensive. So I can kind of see that argument. But as a landlord myself and somebody that has invested in real estate, I could totally see the other side of the argument that the government here is basically capping how much you can earn on your investment. And a lot of people that, you know, make investments, especially for a living or trying to get ahead in life, that's going to be a no-go for them. I think that would be a no-go for me, so it's definitely worth pointing out. And by the way, now that we're talking about real estate, if any of you guys in California especially are looking to move to Florida, make sure you give my real estate team a call. All the info is down below and we'll be happy to help you out. Another thing that California has that Florida does not is they do have recreational pot here. In Florida, we do only have medical pot, so we're definitely behind on that as well. I feel like in California, they're kind of hypocritical in a sense. Like they're the first state to ever legalize medical pot. They're the first state to ever protect gay rights. But now I feel like they're kind of moving in the opposite direction. They're trying to take away people's freedoms rather than grant more of them. And, you know, we already talked about the mask and the vaccine thing, but what about the taxes? You know, they're trying to tax people like crazy here, even involuntary taxes. Me as a visitor, I have to pay their high gas tax when I fill up at the pump. I have to pay a higher sales tax when I buy something at the store. They even charge you for a bottle at the store. It's like 10 cents per water bottle. They charge you for grocery bags at the store. They claim to want to protect the environment here, and that's why they do stuff like that. However, you drive through their big cities like San Francisco and LA, and they're totally filthy. There's garbage everywhere. So for a state that wants to promote their environmentalism, I think they need to get with the program and start cleaning up their cities if they want to claim that they're into protecting the environment, because some of these places just look downright terrible. I'm not going to lie. And one more policy I want to go back to pertaining to the real estate thing again is that Florida is a landlord-friendly state, whereas California is a tenant-friendly state. So completely the opposite there. And basically what we're talking about is if you own a rental property in Florida and you need to evict somebody for non-payment of rent, you can do that within about a 30-day time frame. So that's pretty quick. Here in California, the law is on the tenant side, making it very difficult to evict a tenant, even if they're not paying the rent. And we're not talking about the whole pandemic and forbearance stuff. We're talking about just in regular times. Even in regular times, California makes it very difficult to evict a tenant. So if you are thinking about investing in real estate and finding tenants to rent your property here in California, you want to remember that and keep that in mind. Now that we've covered some of those big policy differences, let's jump into the lifestyle here, because I feel like that's where California and Florida really mingle together very well. lifestyle, and that's part of the reason why I'm here, guys. Being active and living a nice, healthy, active lifestyle is a big thing here in California as well as in Florida. I love when I go down by the local walking path here and I see people riding their bikes, I see people rollerblading, I see people walking their dogs and just going for a walk to stay healthy, and we definitely get a lot of that back home in Florida as well. All of the towns in Florida, mostly you have a very active community, even retirees who want to live in the warm weather and stay in shape, and we definitely have that in common. Both states also have a very big beach culture. Obviously, Florida is one giant beach, you know, the whole perimeter of the state is basically a beach, and here in California, the whole one side of the state is a beach as well. But I will say that the beach community here is more focused on Southern California, which makes sense because it's warmer down there and the water's a little bit warmer as well. So in Southern California, you have the big beach going community there as well as in Florida where I live. And both states do have a bunch of beautiful beaches, I'm not gonna lie, but if you want to get into the nitty-gritty details of all the differences of the beaches in Florida versus California, then check out this video I did about just that. I'll have it linked down below and at this card right here. Now, one thing they do have in California that we don't have as much in Florida, a little bit, but definitely not as much as here, is the big surfing culture. You pretty much can't go to a beach in California and not catch some surfers catching some cool waves, and obviously that's a big thing here. We do have a little bit of that in Florida, but it's pretty rare, mainly because we don't have a lot of big waves to surf in Florida. There are some good beaches for surfing in Florida, but they are few and far between. Now, another difference I noticed about the lifestyle here is obviously California has a lot of ocean. There's a lot of water, you know, when you're by the coast. Like behind me, you see the bay, but look behind me, if you can see, I'll step out of the frame for a second. There's hardly any boats out there. Now, I do see boats out there, but not nearly as many as the amount of boats that I see in Florida. Like even on a regular weekday, I think today is Tuesday, you will see a ton of boats on the water any given day in Florida, no matter where you are in Florida. And I'm surprised that the boating culture is not a bigger thing here in California than it is, because even at the beaches in Southern California, I'm sitting there all day, maybe you see like 4 or 5 boats go by. When I'm at the beach in Florida, you'll see 4 or 5 boats in a span of 10 minutes. So it doesn't seem to be as prevalent of a culture here, which I'm very surprised considering they have a ton of beautiful beaches and water here too. Now, the last thing I want to touch on is the cost of living differences. I'm not going to dive into a lot of detail here because I plan on making an entire video all about just the cost of living differences between California and Florida. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel because that will be coming a little bit later down the road. But in a nutshell, basically everything here in California is considerably more expensive than Florida. We're talking housing, we're talking groceries, we're talking gasoline, we're talking taxes, we're talking even the tolls on the road whenever you need to cross the Golden Gate Bridge or go to Laguna Beach. There's tolls, and they are more expensive than the tolls that you're going to pay in Florida. So like I said, I'm not going to get into a ton of the details, but the cost of living here is significantly higher than in Florida, and I've been doing my best since I've been here to try to stretch my dollar and make it go as far as possible. And in California, it's just a lot harder because everything is so expensive. Like the Whole Foods here, for example, I went to the Whole Foods here in Mill Valley. If I were to buy the same things here that I would at the Whole Foods in Florida, I feel like here it costs like 30 to 40% more. No joke. Just the cost of the item is higher. They have, you know, those stupid extra fees they tack on when you buy water or anything in a can or a bottle, as well as the fact that the sales tax here is higher as well. So all of those things add up when you're buying groceries at the store. Same thing with the gasoline. The gas here is significantly higher. The cheapest I'm finding it around here is $3.99 a gallon, and in Florida I paid $2.99 a gallon when I left for this road trip. So it is significantly more expensive here. Everybody knows that Florida does not have state income tax. Here they do. I'm just visiting, so that doesn't affect me. But I still got to pay those other taxes, you know. I still got to pay the gas tax. I still have to pay the higher tolls. I still have to pay the higher grocery bill. So it does affect you even if you're just visiting. So I need to point that out. Luckily, when it comes to the temporary housing, like the hotels and Airbnbs and things like that that I've been staying at here, is pretty comparable to Florida, because I'm not going to lie, the hotels and Airbnbs in Florida are pretty expensive, and they're kind of equal or on par with what you would find here in California as well. I have been pretty lucky, and we've stayed with a couple different friends that we know out here in California, so I haven't had to pay for a hotel or an Airbnb the whole time I've been here, and that has definitely helped save me some cash. So to my friends who are watching this video, thank you so much for letting me and Lizzie stay with you guys during our time here in California. If you guys enjoyed this video, then go ahead and make sure you check out my video all about comparing the California versus Florida beaches right over here, and I'll see you guys over there in the next one.